Welcome back to the Life of Buddha series. In episode 16, we heard about the 49 days after Buddha attained enlightenment. This was an important period in which Buddha reflected on his teachings and decided to spread the truth he had discovered. During this time, the Buddha pondered whether to propagate the Dharma or not. He found the Dharma to be very profound and difficult to understand for the majority of beings who were immersed in craving. At the end of the 7th week, Brahma Sahampati appeared and requested the Buddha to share the Dharma with the world. At first, the Buddha refused, but after 3 requests, he used his Buddha eye to observe the world and realized that living beings have different capacities and levels. Some people are receptive to the Dharma, others are receptive. Some have seen the dangers of greed and are seeking to practice. Finally, the Buddha decided to turn the wheel of Dharma and begin his mission of spreading the Dharma. He declared, "The door to the deathless has been opened to all beings. Whoever has ears to hear, eyes to see, and wisdom to understand, let him place his complete trust." This decision was made at the end of summer, near the beginning of the rainy season, on June 5th, 588 BC, the year of the rooster. This was the beginning of the Buddha's 45-year mission of spreading the Dharma, opening a new era for humanity. Episode 17. Historical turning point at Deer Park, the wheel of Dharma propagation. Everywhere there was drought, the air was dry. Dry winds scattered leaves and dust everywhere. In less than a month, the rainy season would come. Rivers and streams would overflow. Dirt roads would become muddy and flooded, making it difficult to travel from one direction to another. The time for travel was not many days away. He had to set out to turn the wheel of Dharma. The Buddha turned his face to the southeast of the city of Rajagaha and thought to himself, "Who is the first person who is capable of having the wisdom to hear the Tathagata expound this profound and wonderful Dharma? Who is the one who can quickly grasp a Dharma that goes against the current of the world? Could it be Alara Kalama? The teacher who has thoroughly instructed me in these first steps of meditation is a wise and learned person with much knowledge and wisdom, who has lived a long time without the dust of the world, with very little dust left in his eyes. Or shall I preach this rare and profound Dharma to the teacher, who will be the first person to hear and immediately understand the immoral Dharma of the Tathagata?" A Deva who had the power to read the Buddha's mind appeared, clasped his hands and said, "World-honored one, the teacher Alara Kalama passed away exactly 7 days ago." The Buddha immediately focused his mind on it, confirmed that it was true, and then thought of the teacher Udaka Ramaputta. The Deva also informed him that the teacher had also passed away the night before. After the Buddha focused his mind to know the truth, he thought of his 5 fellow practitioners. They were very diligent monks who had followed him closely, lovingly, caringly, and attentively serving him. They were wise people, with little dust in their eyes, and had worked hard and earnestly sought the path to escape suffering. Just because they thought he had returned to a life of pleasure, they left with a regrettable misunderstanding. The Buddha then turned his mind and knew that they were staying at the Deer Park, Migadaya, Isapatana, about a yojana away from Varanasi, so he prepared for a rather arduous journey back to the northwest on foot. There are 2 ways to get to Varanasi. One is to go north along the Ganges River to the west, following the trade route, easy to travel, but very far, about 25 yojanas. The second way, going along the Gaya mountain range, through fields, villages, ponds, swamps, is about only 15 yojanas. Now in reality it is 230 kilometers, taking more than 10 days on foot. The Buddha chose the short route. Because he was very familiar with the ascetic life, and because he often resided in samadhi to cultivate rapture, his body and mind were always cool, easily enduring the harsh heat of the changing seasons. While walking slowly along the Gai Mountains, the Buddha met an Ajivika ascetic named Upaka on the opposite path. Seeing him, Upaka stared, thinking to himself, "This monk is very tall, graceful, not thin, not fat, but plump. His clothes are not old, not new, but clean, bright, and gentle. Everything about him exudes moderation, but is strangely beautiful, majestic, and attractive." Then Upaka walked forward, walked back and forth, admiring it. There was a 6-colored light, sometimes intense, sometimes faint, sometimes spreading as if blending into the void, sometimes shrinking, then suddenly shining, radiating, shimmering, flickering for a while, then quiet, calm like the surface of an autumn lake without ripples. Coming a little closer, Upaka was completely captivated by the calmness, stability, and peace emanating from his eyes and from his steps. There is a wisdom beyond the world, a shining wisdom, a superintelligence hidden somewhere, not only in the vast and intelligent forehead, but also perhaps in every strand of hair, eyelash, finger, knuckle, and even toe. This person, this being, this handsome young monk is certainly not human. Is he a deva? Thinking so, Upaka stepped closer and greeted, "Hello, my dear friend. How beautiful you are, how wonderfully beautiful." Upaka began to praise and then continued, "How peaceful and pure your six senses are." "Oh no, that is not quite right. It makes peace and purity subdued. The six-colored halo emanating from you makes even a great Brahma jealous. Your complexion shines like pure gold. Surely you are very healthy. What is your name? Where do you live? Who are you ordained under? Who is your teacher? What is your teaching?" The Buddha knew that this ascetic had no affinity now but would have affinity in the future, so he wanted to sow a seed. "Hey, Upakajivika." The Buddha called him by name and also the name of his sect, making Upaka shiver. The Tathagata is the one who is untainted by the world, has completely cut off evil dharmas, is calm, has no desire, has stepped out of all attachments to himself and the world of false views. The Tathagata has conquered the three worlds, attained the unsurpassed fruit of Bodhi, so who else is the Tathagata's teacher? Among humans, devas, and brahmas, the Tathagata stands alone, is their teacher. Now the Tathagata is on his way to the deer park at Isapatna, near Varanasi, to turn the wheel of Dharma, to beat the drum of immortality to awaken sentient beings from their long dream. Upaka thought, "This ascetic speaks so sweetly and lovingly. Oh, how my mind and ears are delighted." He said, "Hope it goes as you say. You truly deserve to be called the immortal victor. Upaka, he who is freed from all worldly bonds is worthy of being called thus. He in whom Mara, the demons, find no trace, is worthy of being called thus. The Tathagatas are often called the supreme, the invincible, the immortal conquerors, the infinite, the limitless conquerors." Upaka nodded vigorously. "So true, so true. Well, my friend, good health to you." After thus praising and greeting, Upaka did not stop at the master's teachings. He bowed his head, turned his back, turned another way, and went straight. Anyone who hears this story will think that this is the first failure on the path of propagating the Dharma of Buddha Gautama, but only he himself knows that he has planted a seed, and this seed will bear fruit after 6 or 7 years. At that time, Upaka was infatuated with the hunter's daughter, and later they got married and had a child. Because of family life suffering from bondage, suffering from food and clothing, suffering from humiliation, Upaka remembered his friend the immortal victor, traveled to Jetavana monastery, became a monk and attained the fruit of Arhat, and his wife also became a monk and attained sainthood. Completely calm, as if nothing had happened, the Buddha slowly continued his journey. Then, after more than 15 days of being exposed to the sun and dew, he arrived at the cool, green deer park. After abandoning their great friend Gautama, the 5 Kondanya brothers returned to the deer park in Isipatana, continuing to live an ascetic life, but they did not forget him. They were very sorry that Gautama, their idol, had returned to a life of indulgence, lacking perseverance and determination to follow the path. Without Gautama, losing faith in Gautama, they were truly helpless, not knowing who else in this life to rely on. The other day, a man went out for alms and divided it into 5 portions, each portion only half the size of a fist. They ate it calmly under a tree, then went down to the pond to bathe, rested for a while to dry off, and then sat down for their usual afternoon meditation. As they were preparing to disperse, Kondanya caught a glimpse of a familiar figure slowly walking into the garden. The yellow robe stood out among the green trees, becoming more and more visible. And with that leisurely, self-possessed and calm gait like the king of the jungle, who could be a stranger, he recognized him. Kondanya whispered to the monks, "Hey guys, Gautama is coming to us. That person who lacks effort, who is not willing to persevere on the path of asceticism, who gives up halfway because of his desire for material gain, is not worthy of our warm welcome or respectful greeting. There is no need to take his bowl and robe. There is no need to offer him a drink. If he comes, just prepare a seat. That is very polite. They said so with a cold face, but when Buddha Gautama arrived, his demeanor, majesty, and otherworldly nature exuded an extraordinary power that made them lose control. Everyone seemed to do it in unison. Some took the bowl and robe, some scooped water to wash the feet, some prepared a clean, high place to sit. A few monks greeted each other. "How has the wise man been all this time? Is the long journey tiring, Gautama? Was it easy for Siddhārtha to beg for alms?" The Buddha thought it was appropriate to offer a word of advice. From now on, you should not address the Tathagata by his family name, by his first name, or by such titles as sage or friend, avuso. The Tathagata has now attained the fruit of perfect enlightenment. He is a Buddha, a world-honored one, a fully enlightened one. The Tathagata has come here to preach the immortal Dharma to you. Those who are wise can realize it through intuitive wisdom in this very life, and they will enjoy transcendental, sacred, and pure happiness. The ascetic Kondanya did not believe it, he said. Buddhahood, the state of perfect enlightenment, is the most noble state for good men who seek to leave their worldly families. It is something extremely holy and extremely sacred. Therefore, that state is not for those who lack diligence, are weak, and are tempted by the devil to fall into a life of lowly pleasures. The Buddha again tried to clarify the previous misunderstanding. Dear friends, the Tathagata has never returned to the life of indulgence. The Tathagata only eats in moderation, in the middle way, and the Tathagata has not stopped trying, striving, and being determined after you have passed away. Thanks to that, the Tathagata has now attained Buddhahood, the state of perfect enlightenment. That is the truth. The Tathagata is the one who has discovered a type of Dharma that does not go through the path of intellectual perception or reasoning, but through the intuition of spiritual experience and practice. Because he thought that this sacred immortal Dharma, if preached, wise people after paying attention and listening can also realize it, the Tathagata has come here. The other four priests did not believe either. In the past, Gautama had a life of extremely serious asceticism, had a discipline of iron and steel, had supreme diligence, had a will and determination like a diamond splitting a rock. Yet he did not achieve extraordinary wisdom. He did not attain anything worthy of being noble. Later, returning to bowls of milk with supreme benefits, trays full of fruits, good sleep, useless conversations, and declaring to have attained the supreme enlightenment equal to the Buddhas? Buddha Gautama patiently presented the truth a second and third time, but his 5 fellow monks still held on to their prejudices and stubbornness, so he sternly asked, "Dear friends, up until now, have you ever heard the Tathagata say anything that is not true?" They all nodded and replied, "That is true. Whatever Gautama says is based on the truth." "And have you ever heard the Tathagata speak about attainment, speak about Buddhahood, speak about preaching the Dharma of non-birth and non-death like today?" "Not at all." After confirming that, they unconsciously looked at the appearance, attitude, and gestures of the world-honored one. There seemed to be the serenity of Mount Sumeru, the unfathomable silence of the bottom of the deep sea, exuding the abundant, full energy of enlightenment. There was also a 6-colored halo, twinkling in pairs, both real and unreal, then transparent, radiating a light that was both brilliant and gentle, like the mother of the sun and the moon. Seeing that the appearance could know the mind, the ascetic Kondanya, who was a wise physiognomist, knew this better than anyone else. He was startled, knelt down and prostrated. "We are truly ignorant. Please have mercy and forgive us and preach that profound Dharma." All 4 Taoists knelt down with great respect and obedience. Dear ladies and gentlemen, you have just listened to the video about the life of Buddha Shakyamuni, adapted from the work A Life, a Sun and Moon by Master Gioi Duc. This video series will be broadcast at 7 p.m. every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday on the YouTube channel Buddhist Story. We sincerely thank you for watching. To not miss the next episodes, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. If you find the content useful, please share this video with your relatives and friends. All your comments are very valuable to us. Please leave comments below the video so we can discuss and share together. Thank you, and see you again in the next episodes of the video series, the life of Buddha Shakyamuni.